Hello, welcome to Snow Day number 4, January 25th, 2016. I hope you all are great. We're going to go through a little review of poetry, prose, and drama of what we've learned so far. All right, so kinds of text. We learned about poetry. Poetry is in lines, verses, and stanzas. Of course, groups of lines are grouped into stanzas. Each new stanza has a new idea. One line could also be called a verse. Prose, that's all of that normal writing, built-in sentences and paragraphs. Two kinds of prose would be narrative, which is stories with, remember, our main elements of characters, setting, and plot, and theme. This could be mostly fiction, but if it is such as a biography that's told in a story about somebody's life, it could also be nonfiction. The other type of prose would be expository. Expository is all fact all the time. It could come in the different text structures of chronological order. Remember, chron means time, so time order, problem and solution, cause and effect, or compare and contrast. And the last type of text would be drama. Drama is text that was written to be performed on a stage in a theater. Built with dialogue, stage directions, and a cast of characters, which we'll get into more once we get back to school. We might even start it tomorrow. We'll see. Characteristics of poetry. Written in stanzas, which are kind of like paragraphs. Usually rhyme, but not always. Use of figurative language, which are also called literary devices. Make a point to the reader. Have rhyme, meter, and verse. So it has the literary device of rhyme, where words rhyme. Meter would be the same thing as rhythm. And of course, verse would be the one line of a poem. Can have repetition, where words and phrases are repeated. Characteristics of prose describes all other types of writing. That normal writing uses paragraphs to organize writing. Characters have different character traits that describe them. Character traits, characteristics that describe a character in a story, such as joyful, optimistic, or grumpy. Characteristics of drama. A script is in the written form of a play. It tells the characters the lines they are supposed to say. The stage directions are not meant to be read aloud, but tell the characters or actors what to do. Plays often have a description of the setting at the beginning of the script. Plays can be divided up into acts and scenes. Remember, a scene is a setting. So with each new setting, a time and a place, you're going to have a new scene. The dialogue in a script are the lines that the characters say. So dialogue is when you have at least two characters talking. Question number 1. So this is what I suggest, that you get something to write with and something to write on, and you go ahead and you write down your answers now. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you to go to the discussion board and post your answers. So question number 1. Poetry is organized into A, sentences and paragraphs, B, lines and stanzas, C, acts and scenes. Which one of those is poetry organized into? So you're going to write a number 1, and then you're going to write the letter and the answer, okay, that you choose. That's what will be posted on the discussion board. But right now you need to pause to answer and write down your answer to number 1. Okay, literary devices coming up. Allusions. Allusions referring to other types of literature to make a point in the story. We've been reading a lot of Greek mythology, which are fictional stories about gods and goddesses that are often alluded to in other types of literature. Common mythical allusions would include King Midas that we learned about. You could have them, if somebody has the Midas touch, then they're really good at something or lucky at it. Pandora's box. She opened a big box of trouble. And so if you refer or make an allusion to a Pandora's box, you're talking about starting trouble. Hercules and his strength. So if you're talking about a Herculean task or Herculean effort, you're talking about a task or an effort that took a lot of strength, either with your brain or with your body. And another one would be the Trojan horse, which would be a trick. How those Trojan soldiers tricked the Greek soldiers. Next, we have rhyme scheme. Each poem has a rhyme scheme, and that can be true. Some poems do have a rhyme scheme, some don't. I want to be very clear. When we talked about free verse is not a literary device. It is a type of poem that could or could not rhyme. It could or could not have a rhythm. That's why it is free verse. But free verse is not a literary device. It is a type of poem, just like haiku. Getting back to rhyme scheme is determined by the last word in a line of a poem. Every time that a poem has a new ending sound to a line, it receives a new letter of the alphabet. So an example would be A, B, A, B, C. So let's look at an example. Understanding Idioms is the title of this poem. They say it's raining cats and dogs, but all I see is water. They say I'm in hot water, but they're not. They told me hold your horses, but I have no pets at all. I'm so confused. I'm really in a spot. So that's a poem about a bunch of idioms, and of course it gives you examples of idioms. But when you're talking about the rhyme scheme, look at the last word. In each line, you've got dogs, water. Well, dogs and water don't rhyme, so you see dogs has A and water B. Not does not rhyme with dogs and water, so it's given a new letter, C. Horses does not rhyme with dogs, water, or not, so it's given a new letter, D. All does not rhyme with dogs, water, not horses, so it's given the new letter, E. Spot does rhyme. It rhymes with not. And so if you notice, since it rhymes with not, the letter C is repeated. So the rhyme scheme of this poem would be A, B, C, D, E, and repeating C, since not and spot rhyme. Question number 2. What is the rhyme scheme in the poem below? It's called My Beard by Shel Silverstein. My beard grows to my toes. I never wears no clothes. I wraps my hair around my bear, and down the road I goes. So if you'll notice, the end word in the lines, toes, clothes, and goes, rhymes. Hair and bear rhyme. So knowing that, what would be the rhyme scheme? Now this is what I suggest. Right now you need to pause and really think about this. Since toes and clothes rhyme, wouldn't they have the same letter? You need to decide. So pause at this time and write down your answer, the letter and the answer that you choose to question number 2. Meter and rhythm. Meter, which is also called rhythm, is the number of syllables in the line of a poem. Examples. And remember, when you were learning phonics, you learned about vowel sounds. But remember, vowel sounds can be made by just one vowel sound could be made by just more than just one letter. For instance, OR says or. It goes together to make one vowel sound. You only count the vowel sounds, not the vowel letters. So for instance, you've got the O in one, or in morning, I in morning, I, O in woke. You don't count E, it's a sneaky E. In up, ear, E-A-R, all go together to make a vowel sound. Lee, in early, Y sounds like long E. If Y sounds like a vowel, you treat it like a vowel when you're counting vowel sounds or syllables. And so you'll notice, and I'd like you to just take a look at this for a second, because I made all of the vowel sounds in each line red so that you could see. Remember, one vowel sound equals one syllable. So if you look at all the lines, I highlighted the vowel sounds. For instance, room, ooh, oh, goes together to make the ooh sound. It is one sound. So that word room is one syllable because there's one vowel sound. Take a look again at the bottom line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vowel sounds. So there are 6 syllables or 6 beats in that word. Question number 3. What is the number of syllables, also called beats or rhythm, in line 3 of the poem below? And it's the same poem by Shel Silverstein we read before. My beard grows to my toes. I never wears no clothes. I wraps my hair around my bear, and down the road I goes. So I am asking you to tell me how many syllables there are in line 3, which is this one right here. I wraps my hair. You need to decide, are there 10 syllables in that line 3, 4 syllables, or 1 syllable? Please pause now to write down your answer. Okay, let's talk about repetition. When a word or phrase is repeated to make a point in the text, that's what repetition is. Oh, excuse me. When a word or phrase is repeated to make a point in the text. So this could happen in prose. It could also happen in poetry and in drama as well. An example is the poem that we looked at on Friday. The woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. By repeating the last line, the poet shows how tired the narrator is, but he has to keep going because he has promises to keep. But the poet used repetition here to show you how tired he is. I can just imagine this narrator saying this like, the woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Similes, comparisons using like or as, drawn together like magnets, comparing whatever's together like magnets, how they draw together. Eyes as blue as the sky, comparing somebody's eyes, how blue they are to how blue the sky is. Important, just because the words like or as are in the lines does not mean it is a simile. It has to make a comparison. Metaphors are also a comparison that says what it means. It typically uses the words is, are, and was, sometimes am and are. Examples, my mom is a teddy bear. Frost is an artist drawing on my window. Friends are a treasure. The old man was a mean snake. In each of those, a comparison is being made between a mom and a teddy bear, Frost and an artist, friends and treasure, old man and a mean snake. But it does not use like or as. Idioms. A phrase that does not mean exactly what it says to convey a meaning. It is not meant to be taken literally. Examples, it's raining cats and dogs, letting the cat out of the bag, spilling the beans, crack of dawn, hold your horses. Now all of these you would say to make a point, like if you said it was raining cats and dogs to make the point that it's raining hard. If you're saying hold your horses, you're making the point to be patient. Now, notice none of these make a comparison, so that's how you could make sure you don't confuse idioms with metaphors or similes. Hyperbole, exaggerating to make a point, often uses number amounts to exaggerate. Examples, Mr. Ricky is 1,000,000 years old. These shoes are killing my feet. I might freeze to death in here. Well, you wouldn't freeze to death, say in a room. Normally, anyway. You are exaggerating to say that you're cold. Those shoes aren't going to kill your feet, but you are saying that they hurt your feet. Personification, giving human characteristics to something that is not living. Examples, the message in the book really spoke to me. Well, messages don't speak, but you're making the point that it really touched you, whatever was said in that book. The dress practically danced into my ear arms. Well, dresses don't dance. But you might say that to make the point that you think the dress is perfect for you. The stars winked at me. Well, stars don't really wink, but they do sparkle, and you would just be making the point that they're sparkling in a very pretty way. Automatopoeia are sound words. That's exactly what they are. They're fun. The dress shuddered in my hands. Buzz went the bee. I turned around and all I heard was kaboom. Those would be like in comic books where you see splat, spam, spit, swat. That would be automatopoeia. Alliteration. When multiple words start with the same beginning sound in a line of text. We also call these tongue twisters, like Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Queen Quinn was very quaint. She found seashells by the seashore. It twists your tongue up because it's using a bunch of the same beginning sounds. That's alliteration. Question number 4. What literary device do you see in the poem to the right? It's called Noisy Day, or Noise Day, I should say, by Shel Silverstein. Let's have one day for girls and boyses, when you can make the grandest noises. Screech, scream, holler and yell, buzz, a buzzer, clang, a bell, sneeze, hiccup, whistle, shout, laugh until your lungs wear out. Toot a whistle, kick a can, bang a spoon against a pan, sing, yodel, bellow, hum, blow a horn, beat a drum, rattle a window, slam a door, scrape a rake across the floor. Now, what literary device do you see being used there? Automatopoeia, simile, or metaphor? 2 of those make a comparison, but nothing here makes a comparison to anything. They are a bunch of sound words. Please pause now to write down your answer, the letter of the answer and the word. Moving on, question number 5. Write a sentence telling one difference between prose and poetry. So I'm just asking you to tell me one thing in a sentence, starting with a capital letter, ending with end punctuation, that tells me one thing that is different between prose and poetry. You can pause now to record your answer. What now? Okay, well, if you're unsure about any of your answers, go back through the PowerPoint. All of these answers are in there. Just look hard. Then, please go to the discussion board for Miss Robbins Reading Rockstars and post your 5 answers to the 5 questions in this PowerPoint. Thanks, and I hope to see you soon. But before I let you go, let me just make sure that you know where I want you to go here. So, let's go to the discussion board. So when you opened up courses and went to Miss Robbins Rockstars, you would just go over here to the sidebar to discussions, and you would click on Snow Day number 4, January 25th, 2016. Once you've gotten here, you just hit the reply button and type your answer. I will give you feedback. However, the first answer you post is the answer that will be graded. I really do hope to see you soon. Take care.